Hey guys, I have been working this summer on trying to make life easier for us. So I've been looking at how to use Google Forms and Google Docs in order to make a lesson plan template that you just enter in the information in Google Forms and it plugs it all in. And so, working on that, I came up with this and I wanted to share it with you in case you were interested. The first thing that you have to do is you need to make a template of what your lesson plan, what you want it to look like. And so, this is what I've created. This is just something just really quick that it's one day. So I've got the date here of what I'll be doing in all these different content areas, my ELA block, my writer's workshop block, my stations, my math block, science, and social studies. And I've got it broken down by what standard I'm covering in each one of these content areas and the I can statement that'll be posted for the kids. I've also got a place for vocabulary to be listed. Any kind of vocabulary that you want the kids to be able to learn and walk away with. A place for the materials that you will need. And just a brief description, an area where you describe what you're going to be doing during that lesson. Maybe type in the link if you're using the New York Engage or Engage New York. I always do that backwards. You can type in the link for if you've made files like a Google Slides presentation, or you can link it in there so that will be able to be just click and take you right to it. And then I've got an area for how am I going to assess the students' learning. So like definitely with the math, the exit tickets and the Engage lessons, there's exit tickets. So you can link that in there too. Or if you've made up your own type of assessment, you can link it in there and be able to just print it out. So what I did is just, basically break it down. And then you can see that I'm not sure what these little thingies called, little brackets, little curly brackets or whatever they are. They're up there at the top. It's beside the P on your keyboard. I'm not sure of the actual technical term, but you put 2 of those. And then the ELA content, this it's going to come off from the Google Forms that you're going to do. So what you put here in these brackets needs to match what is coming off of the Google Forms. And I'm going to show you this so that it all lines up. So let's go ahead. This is just, you start with your template of what you want it to look like. And then you need to create a Google Forms, just a kind of where you ask these questions for all these different areas that you need to fill into your template. So this is what I've made. This is the edited screen. So the date, and you can see it's got date right here. And if you look, I've got date in those little curly brackets. So that information is going to come from what you fill in here. The content. So this, I've got all my different areas, my different content areas. And what I also did, because, maybe you just are planning ELA at that time and you're not ready to do all of them. I've made the screens linked based on the answer that you do here. So if you're just planning ELA, and you choose ELA, it'll take you to the ELA standards and all the questions that focus on the ELA part of your lesson plan template. So I just did ELA, writer's workshop, math, science, social studies, the stations, and then you have to come back because it's like this, it's a connected answer form. I had to go back and make a little choice for when you're ready to submit. So that's why the submit form is there. But you can see for my ELA content and being in first grade, what I did was uploaded the new North Carolina Standard Course of Study ELA standards, and I've made them into check boxes because in a lesson you may cover just one of these standards, or you may be covering several of them throughout the entire lesson. So I've made it so that you can just check them, the ones that you're going to be covering. So it's all of those. Is this? I went with literacy, literature, and informational text because this is what I'm focusing on that ELA block that we're doing when I'm doing my read aloud and my interactive writing, and when we answer the comprehension questions together. This is that block. So that's why I attached those standards to that. And you can see where it says continue to next section. I made different sections. So because I chose ELA, it's going to take you to all these ELA sections. If you chose math, it would jump down to the math section of it. So here you've got your ELA I can statement. And so that connects to this ELA I can. So it all the right answers get plugged into your correct part of your lesson plan template. So this is, I made it so that it's a short answer or short answer text. So you can just type in I can, whatever the standard is or what you want the children to be able to do during this lesson. Vocabulary, I also made this short answer so that you can plug in the vocabulary words you want the kids to walk away with. Gave enough room so that you could actually put the definition that you want them to walk away with, or if you want it to be a student created definition, you can enter that in too. Here's your area of your materials needed, which you can tell that it's all connected. ELA materials, ELA vocabulary. So your ELA description of lesson, if you'll look, description of lesson is right here. So it just all connects. And then when you get down here to the ELA assessment, I've got it so that it's hooked up, that it'll go back to this first screen up here, where you can either go and plan another content area or you can submit the form. So let's take a look at what it looks like when you put it where you can enter in. So I'm going to do preview mode. And so this is what it looks like. So this, I've got it so that a little calendar pops up. So, you're not having to fiddle around with dates. You can actually see the calendar. So if I'm going to plan it for July 30th, it automatically does that. And then it wants to know what content. So if I want to plan math, and then I hit next. So you can see it takes me to my math standards, and I had to enter those in. And I just did a copy paste from the NCDPI website and pushed in the standards into this Google form. So if I'm going to work on OA1 and OA2, so those are going to be the two areas that I'm working on. I can statement. So you just type in I can add numbers within a sum of 5. And because I chose the word problem one, I can solve word problems. I'll do addition word problems. Within a sum of 5. Okay, so those are typed in. Then I hit the next, and then the vocabulary that I want to go over. So I would type in sum, quantity, addend, just coming up with some different vocabulary. If I wanted to, I could type in what those words actually meant so that it shows up on my lesson plan. Or if I want to say student creates definition. So we'll come up with it together as I teach the lesson. So next, the materials that I'm going to need. So this would be like if it was the Engage lesson, I could go into my drive where I've got all of my Engage New York lessons that I created or I downloaded from the website, the Embark Online. Let's see. I'm just seeing if this thing will pull up and do what I want it to do. So if I go into math, do module 1. So here are the lessons. So I pulled it. So if this is lesson 1, I have no idea if it matches. I'm going to create a shareable link. So then I can go back in here. And then I'm going to do module 1, lesson 1. And then, oops, sorry. And then put that link in. And then I could type in that I need counters, maybe an addition mat. Just whatever will go with that lesson. You'd have to look at it. So here's your next. And then what am I going to be doing during this math lesson? So you can do like a brief overview, like I'm going to do whole group, slides. You'll have to look at it. So I'm going to do slides 1 through 10, whole group. And then I break into small group. Teacher would do slides 11 through 17. And then if you have an IA in the room, IA does slides 18 through 22. And so that kind of basically breaks it down if you want to give it more detail, but you know, it just depends on how detailed you want your lesson plans to be. I'm going to hit next. And then how will you assess? And so if you have it saved in your file, where's like an exit ticket. See, and here's my exit ticket. So then I would get a shareable link, go back in here, module 1, lesson 1, exit ticket, and then put your link in there. And then it takes you back to this screen. Now you can stop if that's all you wanted to plan. Now, if you kind of do the jigsaw thing, you can give access to the team, and somebody could be filling in the ELA. They could fill in Writer's Workshop, however you want to do it. Or you could go in and say, okay, I'm also going to plan my Writer's Workshop for the 30th. So I'm going to hit next. And got those loaded in. So we're going to work on narratives. Next. Oops, sorry. Oh my goodness. And same thing, you would type in, since I'm working on narratives, I can write a story with an introduction. I'm just coming up with something on the fly beginning. Middle and end. And a conclusion sentence. It's depending on where you are in the school year and what your standard is. So then you hit next. Vocabulary words. So maybe conclusion is something new that you're working on. So conclusion might help if I spelled it correctly. Conclusion. Hit next. What is the writer's workshop material you need to teach? So I've downloaded some things from Teacher Pay Teacher. And so I would go into my file. I'd link it in like I did with the math. I'd find it in my files. I'd link it, put it in there. So you do, I don't know if it's, I do WW lesson 4. And then I'd put the link. And then what will you be doing? So then you give a brief overview. So talk about you're going to do whole group, review narrative, writing. And the focus today will be on what is a conclusion. Again, you can give more detail if you need. How are you going to assess? So, you know, student samples or whatever it is that you're going to use to assess it. Maybe a rubric that you've created, and see it automatically goes back here. So those are those 2 things that, you know, that's all I'm going to plan. So then I'm going to go back here and hit submit form. Now, somebody in your group is also planning, and maybe they're planning the science and the social studies, and for that specific day. Hit submit. And what it does is it loads it in. And let me show you so that you can see the whole thing. So then you go back to where it is your editing screen. And here's the questions of how you've set it up with the questions. And then you've got an area responses. If you click on responses and you see this is a little Google Sheets Google Sheets icon, you click on that, because what it's done is it's just entered it into this formatted sheets for your questions. And so what I have done is we planned for the 30th, and it filled it in. We planned Writer's Workshop, and we planned ELA. Okay. So those would be the only 2 things. Now, if you had somebody else filling in, they would populate it too. But you have to make sure that you guys are both filling in, and it has to be the same date. So what you would do is I want to create my my lesson plan for that date, for the 30th. And so I'm going to go up here to data. And I had a filter on before. I'm going to turn that filter off, and I'm going to create a new filter. So create a filter. And it's going to ask you which one. And so here are all the dates. So it's going to populate it with all these dates, but I don't want all these dates. I want for the 30th. And so if your team has plugged in the 30th, and so the whole template will be filled out for the 30th, if everybody is entered in their stuff, or if you're doing it all on your own. So just hit OK. So now what it's going to do is only going to pull the information from this line or multiple lines that have the date of the 30th. You need to go up here to add-ons, and you need to add this on, and it's okay for Asheboro City Schools for this add-on. It's something called Document Studio. And so what you would do if you don't have it on there, you would go to Get Add-ons. And up here and search add-ons, you would type in Document Studio. And so there it is. And so mine is already in, but this would say download or add, or I can't remember what the actual terminology is, but you would click that and it'd pull it in. Okay. So after it gets in, you hit add on, and you're going to click to go into Document Studio. It's going to open it. And the first thing you want to do a document merge. And this, it will populate it based on what your headers are up here. And those match the different questions or the different sections of your Google Forms. They have to match. So if you've got ELA standards here, it needs to say ELA standards here. Because if it's not matched up, if the terminology is not matched up, it will not plug it in the right place into your template. Okay, so we're going back here. So this automatically populates it for you. It looks to say, hey, this is what you got going on in the Google document form, and this is what you've got going on in your Google Sheets form. So there's that. We'll go down. Okay. You want to make it an Adobe PDF. So click that. Need to move this out of the way. Sorry. All right. I don't want to mail merge. Google Forms merge. I don't want to do that. I want to upload it to Drive. And so you can have it go in a particular folder. I've already got mine going into my 2018, 2019 folder. It's already set up, but you can do that. You click the select and you find the pathway, create a folder that you want all these lesson plans to be populated. Share a file with others so you can share it with your teammates. And then I want to go down here to save configuration. And so I want to merge it now and merge on form submit. I'm just going to merge now and then run the merge. So what it's doing is it's taking from that data that you asked for on 730, which is what we planned for, and it's pulling just that data from 730. And so it did merge complete. So if I go into my Drive, because I've had it set up to go in to my 2018, 2019 first grade folder. I'm sorry, this thing is really slow. Okay, here. I'm trying to hold a baby and do this too. Put her down. All right, we have really slow internet access. There we go. So this is what we planned. We did the writer's workshop and we did the math block. And so this is what it populated it. You can see that it's stuck in my standards. It, I guess I didn't put in an ICANN statement for the, I thought we pulled one in for that. Whole group review narrative writing focus will be on conclusion, the student samples. This is all the information that you entered in on that Google form. Hello?
Hey, I'm bothering you again.
No, you're fine.
But, well, I ran into Miss McHenry at the table.
Oh.
Yeah. I also ran into Carrie and Denise. Anyway, I told her, but before I ran into them, I told Rhonda, I was like,